The Hermes Birkin sat on the chair beside me, buttersoft leather in a deep cognac shade. It had cost $47,000. More than most people spend on a car. My sister Madison kept glancing at it like it might bite her. "Nice bag," she finally said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Canal Street special?" Around the Thanksgiving table, my family's laughter was immediate and cruel. My father nearly choked on his wine. My mother covered her mouth, her eyes dancing with amusement. Even my brother-in-law Derek joined in, though he looked vaguely uncomfortable. "Madison, be nice," Mom said, but she was still smiling. "Though honey, you really should be more careful about those knockoffs. They can spot them a mile away at country clubs." I cut into my turkey, saying nothing. "I'm serious, Natalie," Madison continued, emboldened by the audience. "This whole thing you've been doing lately, the designer clothes, the expensive restaurants you check into on Instagram, the business trips to Paris. It's embarrassing. We all know you work at a non-profit making, what, $65,000 a year? It's getting concerning," Dad added, his tone shifting to paternal worry. "Are you in debt? Because this pretending to be wealthy when you're clearly not, it's not healthy." I took a sip of water. "I'm not in debt. Then how are you affording all this?" Madison pressed. "Because unless you married a secret millionaire, which, let's be honest, you're still single at 32, the math doesn't add up." My phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at the screen. Gregory Chin, Chief Legal Counsel, Hartwell Industries. "Ms. Hartwell, confirming your order to sell 51% controlling shares of Hartwell Industries stock. Transaction will execute Monday 9 a.m. unless you cancel by Sunday midnight. Current value, $102 million. I set the phone face down and resumed eating. "See? Even her phone is probably fake," Madison said. "That's a real iPhone at least, but I bet the designer apps and screenshots are all for show." What Madison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Hartwell Industries, the medical device company my grandfather had founded 60 years ago, was currently worth $200 million. And I owned 51% of it. My grandfather, William Hartwell, had been the black sheep of his generation. A brilliant inventor who'd patented a revolutionary cardiac monitoring device in the 1960s. He'd built Hartwell Industries from nothing, ignoring his family's advice to pursue respectable careers in law or banking. When he died 7 years ago, he'd left his controlling shares to me. Not to my father, his son, who'd spent 40 years in corporate law and never showed interest in the family business. Not to Madison, his eldest grandchild, who'd married into money and spent her time on charity boards. To me, the youngest, the quietest, the one who'd actually listened to his stories and understood his work. The will had been specific. To Natalie Hartwell, who inherited my curiosity rather than my family's arrogance, I leave controlling interest in Hartwell Industries. May she build something worthy of the name. My family had been furious. Not because they wanted the company. None of them understood medical devices or had any interest in manufacturing, but because it felt like a slight. The will stated clearly and publicly that Grandpa thought I was more capable than any of them. The board had tried to buy me out immediately. I was 25, fresh out of grad school with a biomedical engineering degree, and they assumed I'd take the money and run. Instead, I kept the shares and joined the board as a silent observer. For 7 years I'd watched. I'd learned. I'd quietly used my controlling interest to block bad decisions and push strategic improvements. The company's value had grown from $120 million to $200 million under my hidden influence. The board thought they were making brilliant decisions. In reality, I was the one steering the ship from the shadows. And I'd used my dividend payments, roughly $4 million annually, to live very comfortably while working at a nonprofit that meant something to me. The nonprofit salary was real. Everything else was funded by the company my family had dismissed as Grandpa's little gadget business. "You know what I think?" Madison was saying, warming to her theme. "I think you're catfishing your own life. You're creating this fake persona online, buying knockoff bags, taking photos in hotel lobbies you're not staying at." "The Plaza," I said quietly. "Last month, I was staying at the Plaza." "Oh please," Madison laughed. "The Plaza? That's like $800 a night." "The Terrace Suite," I continued. 5 nights. $3,400 per night." The table went quiet. "Natalie," Mom said gently, "this is exactly what we're talking about. These fantasies. I also had dinner at Le Bernardin, I said, my voice still calm. Sat at the chef's table. $650 per person plus wine pairings. Dad's expression shifted from amusement to concern. Sweetheart, are you hearing yourself? You're describing expenses that would cost more than your monthly salary. This is delusional, I offered. Is that what you were going to say? I was going to say worrying, Dad said. Madison's right. This pretending to live a lifestyle you can't afford. It's not healthy. Are you in therapy? Because this level of fantasy. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Gregory. Also confirming, your 51% share sale will trigger mandatory buyout offers to remaining shareholders per company bylaws. Your father's 8% stake, your sister's 3% stake, and your mother's 2% stake will be subject to purchase at current market rates. They'll receive notice Monday morning. I picked up my wine glass and took a slow sip of the $200 Bordeaux Dad had been bragging about earlier. It was good, though I'd had better at the private wine dinner in Napa last spring. Natalie, Madison said, her voice taking on that syrupy concern she used at her charity galas. We love you. We're worried about you. This whole thing where you pretend to have money, it's sad. You're a smart woman. You do good work at your nonprofit. Why isn't that enough? Why do you need to pretend to be something you're not? I'm not pretending, I said. The bag is fake, Madison said flatly. I've seen enough real Birkins to know. It's real, I said. I bought it at the Hermes store on Madison Avenue in July. Would you like to see the receipt? Anyone can fake a receipt. Call the store, I said, pulling out my phone and finding the number. Ask for Bernard. He's the manager. Tell him Natalie Hartwell wants to confirm her purchase. He'll remember. I also bought the matching wallet and the Kelly bag in rouge. Madison's smile faltered slightly. I'm not calling. Because you're afraid I'm telling the truth, I finished. You'd rather believe I'm delusional than accept that I might actually have money. Natalie, enough, Dad said firmly. These games aren't helping. Your sister is trying to help you and you're being defensive. That's a sign of what? I asked. Of what, Dad? He exchanged glances with Mom. Of someone losing touch with reality. Someone who's built an elaborate fantasy and can't distinguish it from truth anymore. I set down my fork very carefully. Around the table, my family watched me with expressions ranging from pity to concern to poorly hidden satisfaction. Madison looked like she'd won something. Can I tell you all a story? I asked. Natalie, Mom started. 7 years ago, Grandpa William died. You all came to the will reading expecting him to leave everything to Dad, maybe with some small trusts for the grandchildren. Instead, he left 51% controlling interest in Hartwell Industries to me. Do you remember? Of course we remember, Dad said stiffly. It was a mistake. He was elderly, confused. We considered contesting it, but the will was ironclad, I finished. And he'd had 3 separate psychiatric evaluations in the months before he died, all confirming he was of completely sound mind. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was being vindictive, Madison said. He was angry at Dad for not joining the business, so he was being strategic, I corrected. He left the company to the person he thought could protect it. And for 7 years I have protected it? Dad laughed. Natalie, you've barely been involved. The board runs that company. You just collect a small dividend and... A small dividend, I repeated. Dad, do you know what the dividend payment is on 51% of a $200 million company? Silence. It's roughly $4 million per year, I said. After taxes, I take home about $2.7 million annually. That's what I've been living on for 7 years while working at the nonprofit because I enjoy the work. Mom's face had gone very pale. That's not. The company isn't worth $200 million. It's worth $203 million as of market close yesterday, I said. It was worth $120 million when Grandpa died. I've helped grow it 69% by using my controlling interest to block stupid decisions and push smart ones. The board thinks they're geniuses. They have no idea I've been guiding every major decision for 7 years. Derek, my brother-in-law, spoke for the first time. The dividend payment on those shares would be public record. If you actually owned 51% of Hartwell Industries. Under the name N. Hartwell Trust, I said. Grandpa set it up to protect my privacy. The trust owns the shares, I control the trust. It's all perfectly legal and properly filed, but yes, it's somewhat opaque unless you know what to look for. I pulled up my phone and opened my email, turning it so they could see. This is from Gregory Chin, the chief legal counsel at Hartwell Industries. He's confirming my order to sell my controlling shares. Would you like me to read it aloud? That's fake, Madison said, but her voice wavered. Call Gregory, I said, finding his number. His office number is public. Call him right now and ask if he represents the N. Hartwell Trust. Nobody moved. Or better yet, I continued, wait until Monday morning. Because when my sale goes through, company bylaws trigger mandatory buyout offers to all remaining shareholders. Dad, you own 8% of Hartwell Industries, roughly $16 million in stock. Madison, you own 3%, about $6 million. Mom, you own 2%, $4 million. Those were Grandpa's gifts to you, much smaller than mine but still substantial. Dad's voice was barely a whisper. You're saying we own millions in company stock? You've owned it for 7 years, I said. The same 7 years you've been receiving quarterly dividend payments. Dad, you get about $640,000 per year. Madison, about $240,000. Mom, $160,000. Surely you've noticed those deposits. Those deposits, Dad stopped, his face going from pale to red. Those deposits are from the Hartwell Estate Administration. Small residual payments from your active shareholding in a $200 million company. I finished. You never bothered to read the documentation carefully, did you? You just assumed it was a minor inheritance payout, not an ongoing dividend from active shares. Madison's hands were shaking. If we own millions in stock, why didn't anyone tell us? The documentation was sent to you, I said. 7 years ago. Annual reports every year since. Quarterly statements. You all signed the shareholder agreements. You've been voting by proxy on board decisions. You just never paid attention because you dismissed Hartwell Industries as Grandpa's little gadget business that wasn't worth your time. Mom stood abruptly, her napkin falling to the floor. This is insane. If you actually owned 51% of a $200 million company, why would you sell it? Why would you? Because of this, I said simply, gesturing at the table. Because I've spent 7 years listening to my family call me delusional, broke, and mentally unstable for living within my means. Because Madison just spent 20 minutes mocking my fake designer bag while sitting on millions in assets she didn't know she had. Because Dad was about to stage an intervention for my fantasies, while cashing dividend checks he never bothered to understand. The dining room had gone completely silent except for the antique clock on the mantel. So yes, I continued, I'm selling my 51% controlling interest for $102 million after taxes to a private equity firm that's been trying to buy the company for 3 years. And when I do, the buyout triggers will force you all to either sell your shares to or become minority shareholders in a company now controlled by strangers who won't be as gentle with their management as I was. Dad sank into his chair. Natalie, you can't. The company is our family legacy. It was Grandpa's legacy, I corrected. And he left it to me because he knew I'd protect it. For 7 years I did. I guided it, grew it, made it more valuable. And now I'm done. Monday morning I'm executing the sale. Unless what? Madison whispered. I stood picking up my very real Hermes bag. Unless between now and Sunday at midnight I change my mind. But to do that I'd need a reason. I'd need my family to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, I'm not delusional. That maybe I've been successful in ways you never bothered to notice because you were too busy assuming I was failing. I walked toward the door, then turned back. The bag is real. The Plaza stay was real. The Lou Bernardine dinner was real. The private wine dinner in Napa was real. The trip to Paris was for a Hartwell Industries board meeting. I attended remotely, but I stayed an extra week for the fashion shows. All of it was real, funded by the dividends from the company Grandpa trusted me to protect. Natalie, wait, Mom said, standing. We didn't know. If we'd known. You would have paid attention? I asked. You would have taken me seriously? Mom, you receive quarterly statements from Hartwell Industries. So does Dad. So does Madison. None of you ever read them. None of you ever asked questions. You just assumed your small dividend payments were the extent of your involvement and never looked deeper. We'll look now, Dad said urgently. Well, let's call Gregory Chin right now. Let's sort this out. Don't make rash decisions because of a bad Thanksgiving dinner. A bad Thanksgiving dinner, I repeated. Dad, this isn't about one dinner. This is about 7 years of being treated like I'm mentally unstable for living a life he didn't bother to understand. 7 years of interventions and concerned looks and suggestions that I get therapy for my delusions. All while I was protecting your financial interests and growing your assets by tens of millions of dollars. My phone buzzed again. A text from Gregory. The board is concerned about Monday's transaction. They've asked if you're willing to meet this weekend to discuss alternatives. Private dinner, just you and the executive team. They're hoping to present a counteroffer to keep you engaged. I showed the text to my father. The board wants to take me to dinner this weekend. They value my involvement. They understand my worth. Can my own family say the same? Derek spoke up, his voice careful. Natalie, if everything you're saying is true, and I'm starting to think it is, then I owe you an apology. We all do. But selling out of anger isn't. It's not anger, I said. It's exhaustion. I'm tired of being dismissed. I'm tired of proving myself to people who should have believed in me from the start. Grandpa knew what he was doing when he left me those shares. He knew I had what it took. I wish my parents had known it too. I walked to the door, then paused one more time. You have until Sunday at midnight to convince me not to sell. That's roughly 63 hours. In that time, you might want to actually read your shareholder documentation. Understand what you own. Understand what you've been benefiting from for 7 years. And maybe, understand that your delusional daughter has been the most financially successful person in this family for the past 7 years, and you never noticed because you were too busy mocking her handbag. I left them sitting at the Thanksgiving table, walked to my car, a Tesla Model S that Madison had previously called, probably leased to look impressive, and drove back to my apartment in Tribeca. My phone started ringing immediately. First Dad, then Mom, then Madison. I silenced them all and poured myself a glass of wine from the bottle I'd been saving. A 2015 Chateau Margaux that had cost $850. For 7 years I'd stayed quiet. I'd let them believe what they wanted to believe. I'd taken Grandpa's gift and honored it privately, growing the company and protecting our family's assets while they'd assumed I was barely scraping by. But Madison's comment about the fake handbag had been the breaking point. Not because it was particularly cruel, I'd heard worse, but because it crystallized everything wrong with our dynamic. They'd rather believe I was a delusional liar than acknowledge I might be successful. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Dad. Against my better judgment, I listened. Natalie, I just spent the past hour on the phone with Gregory Chin and our family attorney. Everything you said checks out. You own 51% of a company worth $203 million. You've been the controlling shareholder for 7 years. Your mother and I have been receiving $640,000 annually without understanding where it came from or what it meant. Sweetheart, I don't know what to say. I've been so focused on my career, on what I thought success looked like, that I never stopped to understand what you'd built. Your grandfather was right about you. He saw something I was too blind to see. Please don't sell the company. Not yet. Give us a chance to understand. Give me a chance to be the father who supports his daughter instead of dismissing her. You have until Sunday at midnight. I'm asking you to wait. I'm asking for a chance to see you clearly. Dad. I played the message twice, then deleted it. Next was Madison. Nat, I'm so sorry. I was jealous. You're living this amazing life and I've been sitting here married to Derek's family money, playing charity board games, pretending to be important. You're actually important. You're actually successful. And instead of being happy for you, I tore you down. The bag is real. Your life is real. You're real. I'm the fake one. Please call me. Then Mom, my darling girl. I failed you. I let your father's definitions of success become my own. I forgot that your grandfather chose you for a reason. He saw your strife. I should have seen it too. I'm looking at the shareholder documents now. 7 years of quarterly reports I filed away without reading. 7 years of watching our investment grow while you guided it. How did I miss this? How did I miss you? Call me. Please. I sat in my apartment looking out at the Manhattan skyline and thought about Grandpa William. He died thinking I would protect the company. And I had. But he'd also wanted me to be happy, to be recognized, to be valued. Use the power I'm giving you, he'd said in our last conversation. Not just to protect the company but to protect yourself. Don't let them make you small. For 7 years I'd let them make me small. I'd stayed quiet, stayed hidden, let them believe what they wanted while I built something extraordinary behind the scenes. Maybe it was time to stop being quiet. Sunday morning, I woke to find my entire family outside my apartment building. All of them, Dad, Mom, Madison, even Derek. They'd been there since 6 a.m. according to the doorman. I let them up. We read everything, Dad said, holding a stack of documents. 7 years of annual reports. Every quarterly statement. Every board decision where your proxy vote made the difference. Natalie, you've been extraordinary. We brought breakfast, Mom added weakly, holding up bags from Balthazar. And coffee from that place you like. Madison stepped forward. I called Hermes. I spoke to Bernard. He remembers you. He said you're one of their favorite clients, that you have exquisite taste and never flinch at prices. He told me about the Kelly bag in Rouge. The scarf collection you've been building. The fact that you're on their VIP list for new releases. I'm so sorry, Nat. For everything. I looked at them, my family standing in my foyer holding pastries and coffee like peace offerings. Why now? I asked. Why does it take the threat of losing $102 million to take me seriously? Because we're human, Dad said quietly. And humans are idiots. We see what we expect to see. We hear what we expect to hear. For 7 years, I expected to see my daughter struggling, so I saw struggle. I never looked closely enough to see success. I looked at your financials, Derek said. As an outsider, I mean. Your dividend payments, your investment portfolio, your real estate holdings. You own this apartment, don't you? Bought it outright 4 years ago for $3.2 million. It's now worth nearly $5 million. You've been quietly building wealth while we all assumed you were poor. That's not just success. That's financial genius. I want to learn from you, Madison said. Really learn. Not just about money but about how you stayed humble while having every reason to be arrogant. How you kept working at a nonprofit making $65,000 when you were bringing in millions. How you protected the family company while we mocked you. Teach me that. Please. I looked at the clock. 9:47 a.m. I had until midnight to cancel the sale. What happens if I keep the shares? I asked. We'd like to propose something, Dad said. He pulled out a document. This is a new shareholder agreement. It makes you CEO of Hartwell Industries with a board seat and full operational control. Your mother, Madison, and I are ready to vote as a bloc to support this. Between us, we control 64% of the company. You want me to run the company? We want you to stop hiding, Mom said. Grandpa gave you those shares because he believed in you. We're asking you to step into that belief. Publicly. Let the board know who's been guiding their decisions. Let the industry know that William Hartwell's granddaughter is carrying on his legacy. Madison added, and let us know you. The real you. Not the version you've been showing us because you thought we couldn't handle the truth. I thought about the private equity firm's offer. $102 million, clean exit, no more family complications. I could walk away, start fresh, never have to worry about proving myself to my family again. But I also thought about Grandpa William, about the company he'd built, about the legacy he'd trusted me to protect. I need to make a call, I said. I went into my bedroom and dialed Gregory Chin. Natalie, he answered immediately. Good morning. I assume you're calling about tomorrow's transaction. I'm canceling it, I said. Cancel the sale. I'm keeping my shares. The board will be thrilled, Gregory said. There's one more thing you should know. When news leaked that you were potentially selling, 3 different companies submitted acquisition offers for Hartwell Industries. Offers ranging from $280 million to $340 million. Your potential exit made the industry realize how valuable the company has become. $340 million? I repeated. Your work has been noticed, Gregory said. Even if you didn't want the recognition. The industry knows someone's been making brilliant decisions at Hartwell. They just didn't know it was you. Maybe it's time they did. After I hung up, I returned to my family. I'm keeping the shares, I said. On certain conditions. Anything, Dad said. First, no more dismissive comments about my life, my choices, or my financial decisions. You don't have to understand everything I do, but you have to trust that I know what I'm doing. Agreed, Mom said immediately. Second, I'm taking the CEO position, but I'm doing it on my terms. I'll split my time between Hartwell Industries and my nonprofit work. Both matter to me. That's non-negotiable. We support that, Madison said. Third, and this is important, I'm not interested in performing wealth. I don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. I'll drive my Tesla, carry my Birkin, live in my Tribeca apartment, and work at my nonprofit. And none of you will ever again suggest that any of it is fake, borrowed, or delusion. Never again, Dad promised. And finally, I said, Thanksgiving dinner next year is at my place. I'm hiring a chef. A real one. Because if I'm going to host my family, we're doing it properly. For the first time that morning, everyone laughed. Madison hugged me first, then Mom, then even Dad, who wasn't usually demonstrative. Derek shook my hand formally, then smiled and said, Can I just say that was the most badass financial play I've ever seen? Threatening to sell to make your family see you? That's legendary. It wasn't a play, I said. I was ready to actually sell. But you didn't, Mom said softly. Because family matters. Even when we're idiots. Especially when you're idiots, I corrected. Because then you need someone smart to keep you from destroying your own assets. That afternoon, I sent the email to Gregory Chen officially canceling the sale and accepting the CEO position. I also sent an email to the board introducing myself properly for the first time in 7 years. From Natalie Hartwell to Hartwell Industries Board of Directors subject. Corporate governance and new leadership. Dear board members, for the past 7 years, I have exercised my grandfather William Hartwell's controlling interest in this company from the shadows. I guided decisions, blocked destructive paths, and helped grow our value from $120 million to $203 million. Effective immediately, I am stepping into the light. As majority shareholder and newly appointed CEO, I will be taking active operational control of Hartwell Industries. I look forward to working with each of you directly. I am my grandfather's granddaughter in every way that matters. He built this company with brilliance and determination. I intend to honor that legacy by building on it. First board meeting under new leadership. December 1st, 9 a.m. Respectfully, Natalie Hartwell, CEO, Hartwell Industries. The responses came within minutes. Congratulations. Excitement. Relief. One board member wrote, We've been hoping you'd step forward for years. Welcome to the light. That evening, Madison called. I'm at Hermes right now. I want to buy a real Birkin. Can you help me pick one out? You don't need a Birkin to prove anything, I said. I know, she said. But I want one. And I want my little sister to help me choose it because she has better taste than me and I'm finally humble enough to admit it. I smiled. Bernard closes at 6. Get there by 5:30, tell him you're my sister. He'll take care of you. Thank you, Nat. For everything. For being patient with us. For not actually selling. For being extraordinary even when we couldn't see it. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment, my fully paid for apartment, and thought about the past 7 years. The quiet success. The hidden wealth. The constant dismissal. And I realized something. I didn't need my family's validation to be successful. I'd already proved that. But having them finally see me clearly, that was worth more than $102 million. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic destruction. Sometimes it's showing people exactly what they almost lost, and then choosing graciously to let them keep it. The Hermes bag sat on my counter, butter soft and perfectly real, just like everything else in my life.